Good evening, everyone. Welcome to PSSL Photopourri. For those who you don't know, Photopourri is an initiative PSSL started a few years ago to have a collection of presentations of different genres of photography. So we today we have a collection of 7 different short presentations. Which will start now, and let's just start with the first presentation. First presentation is wildlife with COVID. As we all know, last year and a half has been a difficult time for us, especially photographers. We didn't have much opportunity for us to go out and take pictures. But many of us, I mean, though many of us did not get an opportunity to take pictures, COVID did not stop Ruchira from taking photographs. Let's listen to him and understand how he continued his wildlife photography during COVID. Over to you, Ruchira.
Right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. You can see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, my screen is visible now, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right. Again, good evening, everyone. So basically, I'm not going to talk about a lot of technical things and anything like that. I'm just going to share some of the photos I took during the COVID lockdown situation, basically in 2 genres. If I start with my go-to wildlife setup was this before COVID situation. I was not having a specified wildlife lens. I was using a 50x300 because I was mainly shooting elephants and bigger animals. So I did not have a problem with this setup. But with COVID, I could not do any safaris or anything like that. So I was restricted to shooting around the house. So when I was shooting birds and all that, so I found it a bit of a difficulty because as you can see in these photos, even though the animals were quite close to me since they were small, I was cropping in quite a bit. I was having very high ISOs and my photos were coming quite soft. I mean, photos like this, I feel like I missed the shot because I was cropping in heavily and editing with a lot of high ISO. Especially like this situation where the bird nest was about 5-6 meters from my window, but some of the shots I missed because it was heavy ISO because it was a shaded area. So I was not very happy with most of the bird photography I was doing with COVID, but I had bought a Tokina 100mm macro lens just before lockdowns, but I had not used it that much because the first couple of shots I was taking with my macro were out of focus. I couldn't handle it properly. So I started doing a few setups. So this is from my first setup I did. Again, these are setups. I used 2 off-camera flashes for these shoots. I just found a couple of spiders lying about and took them to my table and kept them on a leaf and started shooting. So again, these are artificial situations, but I got used to the lens. I got used to how the lens works. I understood that I could not shoot at f5.6 or even at f8. In my case, even though some photographers can shoot f8 for macro, I had to go for f11 and f14 sometimes. So I took the lens outside and started doing some natural shots. So these are some of my macro shots I did during the lockdown period. So this is one of my favorites because I could get the eye quite sharp. The reason I put a lot of effort into macro wildlife rather than the normal bigger animals is because around my house, I could maybe find 5 or 6 kinds of birds on a given day. But insect-wise, you can find 20-30 different kinds of insects around the house. So I actually enjoyed the variety, and I can always, you are guaranteed to get at least a couple of shots when you take a macro lens and walk out because there are plenty of opportunities. So this is another one of my favorite shots, because I didn't actually see that there was another small fly with in the sting of the other fly, maybe the mouth or the sting of the other fly. So that's something I noticed only after taking this photo. So after doing macro for some time, I needed a bit of a change. So I felt like I wanted to try out some heavier, bigger lenses with better glass. So I went with the Tamron 150-600. Again, this I bought during the middle period where the lockdowns were shifted temporarily. But again, we had lockdowns and I could not take it out for a safari or anything. But I thought I'll try my hand for some bird photography around the house. So these are just some of my shots. Again, these are all from my garden, where mostly because I was on my second floor balcony. These are eye level. I like this guy. He was posing for a lot of photos that day. I know these are very common birds you see on a daily basis, but for me, with the new lens, with the new setup, and especially with situations like them having some insects in their beaks and all that, that was quite interesting. So I was shooting a lot of birds around the house. Again, from my balcony. I used to call these them hummingbirds, but only after I started shooting them did I did some search and realized that they were sunbirds, and got some information on them. Again, a kuruluwaya who visits my garden probably on a weekly basis. One of my favorite shots from my garden. I was actually doing videos during these days, because lockdown was 1.5 years. So you sort of run out of things to try out. You run out of ways to shoot the same bird. So I was trying out some videos. While doing some videos, this bird came quite close. It was about 5 feet from my camera, probably. So, but while I was capturing all these birds and insects around the house, I still go back to some of my setup shoots, which is one of the setup shoots that is included in the brochure that was shared earlier. So this mantis, this is the first mantis I've ever had the opportunity to photograph, but he was inside my house already. So I went with the setup. I'm going through the slides a little faster since we started a little late, but I hope I'm clear in what I'm presenting. If you have any questions, you can just ask, because this actually brings me to the end of my presentation. So this is my personal hang in there poster during COVID. Right. So I just wanted to share a couple of photos like that.
Right. Thank you very much, Ruchira, for that lovely presentation. You just showed us that you really don't have to go far to capture a lovely image. Next, we'll move on to Sandeep. Sandeep will look at street photography today from a different perspective. Let's listen to him and see what he has to say. Over to you, Sandeep.
Right. Thanks, Naim. I'm going to share my screen.
Go ahead.
Hope you all can see my screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So today my presentation is on street photography, a project-based approach. Let's just jump into the topic in the interest of time. So during this presentation, what I'm going to cover is what is a street photography project, the purpose of a project in street photography, and how do you create projects in street photography, then examples of some street photography projects, and then we'll come to a conclusion and maybe a Q&A. Yeah. So what is a project in street photography? A collection of photographs that tells a story and or it shares a common aesthetic. Again, and or runs on a single theme. Let's see why do we have to do that, right? So when you look at street photography, I broke down street photography into two forms of performing it. Free form street photography, which is basically random. You just pick up your camera, walk out. So if you're lucky, you will catch an amazing image or two out of an excursion. Or if you're not so lucky, then you might come back with a bunch of images that look the same like the ones that you took the last week. But in this approach, it's more relaxed, right? But again, little bit inconsistent with the results that you're trying to create. And there's a sense of indecisiveness around it, right? Because there is no real sense of direction from one shoot to another shoot, because you're just basing it on the luck. Opposed to that, what I'm proposing, this is something that most of the street photographers are picking up. It has been picked up in the like past few decades as well, but more and more new street photographers are picking this up, is project-based street photography. In project-based street photography, you're having a more purposeful approach. It's more controlled, productive, it's focused, and very well organized. So let me tell you how you do this, right? When you're creating a project in street photography, we said that you need to be able to tell a story. And in order to tell a story, you need to create certain visual elements in a collection of images and present it as a body of work. So in order to start that project, first point is finding inspiration. So how do you find inspiration? You can find inspiration in your own archive of images. You can get a set of images that you really like, that you had clicked over the past years, maybe a decade, if you have been shooting that long. Put them in front of you. See if you have any common visual elements, any common themes running through those images. That gives you an idea for an inspiration. Okay, this could be a project. This could be a body of work. Or you can look at the work of other photographers. We often get inspired by the work of other people who have made it in this particular genre of photography, right? Who have received critical acclaim around the world, and those photographs can inspire. Or even other art, right? For an example, now, let's say music. Music can inspire you to try have a project in street photography. For an example, the one project that I have been working on for the past year or 1.5 years is a project inspired by a piece of music called Sound of Silence. Not the original Simon and Garfunkel cover, but the Disturbed cover, right? So even other art can inspire you, give you an inspiration to create a project around street photography. The most important element around a street photography project is that you're trying to tell a story or convey a message using either a common set of aesthetics or a common running theme underlying it. Let's talk a little bit about the common aesthetic. Now, I have now in this image, particular image that you're seeing here, basically I've taken an example from a well-known street photographer, Nick Turpin, his work in London streets. Basically, he was shooting at nighttime of people traveling in buses. And he created an amazing body of work. We'll talk about that later in a later slide. I have a few images to tell you what he has done. But Basically, this dewdrops on the windows, the foggy windows, and people's tiredness, this became an underlying running theme across his project. And this aesthetic aspect of it, the fog on the windows. So he kept on that theme for a long time throughout that project. You can easily achieve the common aesthetic by maybe, if you think about picking the same lens for all your shoots. It's the simplest way to do that. For an example, now, I was doing a street shoot 1 week back with Nilan, our street photography group leader in PETA. So he shoots with a zoom lens at the longer end of it. So then I shoot with a 35mm prime. So when we shoot the same scenario, even if I move closer to get the same framing, the visual aspect of those two images are different. The compression at the foreground and the background is different. The way the image looks or the presented is different. If you consistently keep this at the same aesthetic across a body of images, they will get a sense of cohesiveness. So that's one way to achieve that. Common theme, you could be shooting a location repeatedly again and again. For an example, I used to spend a lot of time in these local markets to create a collection of images. It could be the same market again and again, or it could be multiple different markets in different areas, but still you have an underlying theme. Or an activity, it could be an activity. Maybe people cycling. You're shooting people who are cycling through the urban areas. Regardless, these two elements in combination put together will help you tell a story in a collection of images. The third thing that you need to think about when you're creating a project in street photography is how are you going to present this? So your presentation can be in digital media. That means it could be social media. In most likely case, it is social media. Or if you have a website, you could create a dedicated page to show your portfolio of work or your body of work in particular to this particular project. Or you could have printed media. This is not that common in Sri Lanka at the moment, but in the Western world, of course, zines are becoming a huge thing. Basically, it's a mini version of a magazine, right? You could publish a book. That's one of the best ways to get recognized for a body of work. Or you can even hold a mini exhibition. You can do an exhibition in your own living room, right? That's a private one. But if you think about small coffee shops, like Coffee Beans, right? They portray some of the images that people bring up. I know Orion City had a similar place like that. So it's a matter of thinking where you can put your images for others to see. Think about that also before you start the project itself. How are you going to present that? Think about these things, and we'll move on to and look at some of the examples of street photography projects and how they have been executed, inspiration, the execution of it, and the presentation of this. The first example that I took is from the same street photographer that I mentioned earlier, Nick Turpin. So this collection of images is only a sample set of images, but he had a huge collection than this on the night bus. Now, the idea behind this was people in London traveling late at night in buses after work, after a tiring day of work. The foggy window is a very common thing in London. If you've ever been there, almost every evening there's a drizzle. Almost every evening there's a bit of rain and dampness around the city. So he used that element as a common aesthetic across his body of work. And this got internationally recognized. And he published a book on this on the same name, On the Night Bus. So if you're interested in it, you can check it out later. Here he used theme as well as common aesthetic, both in combination to present his body of work. Fan Ho, this street photographer is from China. Not much appreciated during his time, but in the present day, he's highly revered by most of these contemporary street photographers. One to name is Sean Tucker was heavily influenced or inspired by work that Fan Ho did in 1950s, 60s kind of. So he originally started as his street photographer. Then he became a videographer and then created small films. He transitioned into that. But during his photographing days, he did street photography. If you see, the underlying theme here is he used to take lots and lots of photographs of people ascending or descending through staircases. And he used a common aesthetic, a visual element also here. Harsh sun rays coming at an angle, and then a smoky kind of an atmosphere. You can see this commonness across all his images that he put together as a body of work. He did not publish this as a book per se, but people had published on behalf of him multiple books of his work. The third example that I have is by a contemporary photographer called Doogie Wallace. Harrodsburg is the project that he called, and he published a book by the same name, Harrodsburg. And this basically brings out the feeling you get if you really visit Harrodsburg or the area around the Harrods store, right? Extravagancy and flamboyance comes out of his images. They jump out of his images. Extreme colors, extreme fashion. That's a common underlying theme in these photographs. Visual element wise, they are very close-up photographs, maybe used with a 28 mm or 35 mm lens. I'm not really sure exactly the setup that he used, but he maintained that. He created the body of work and he got recognized internationally for publishing this work. This is a photographer that I really like personally, Mark Cohen. His project Dark Knees. Now, this is a very simple approach. Again, even with simplicity, there's a lot of underlying complexity that if you dive into that, you will see. He photographed people's body parts. He did not even photograph a whole person, right? Usually when we talk about tight cropping and a lot of there should be more space and all this, he did not adhere to any of those. He adhered to one visual representation of his work. He photographed people's body parts, and he tried to omit human faces as much as possible. If I'm not mistaken, he had not taken actual human face photographs for this project at all. It's always been parts of bodies, real people on real streets. That's basically what he was going for. Coming to the conclusion of my presentation, a street photography project is a collection of images that uses a common aesthetic or a theme to tell a story. A project-based approach helps a street photographer to be more organized, purposeful in his excursions over a longer period of time. You can easily plan what am I going to shoot today, but can you really plan what you are going to shoot in the next week and the week after and the week after that? That's what a project-based approach will give you. You will have a more organized approach towards your photography excursions. Then if you find the right inspiration and identify how you're going to tell your story through your own aesthetics and a theme, and if you plan your work and how are you going to present them, you will be able to create a successful street photography project. But mind you, this is not the only way to do street photography or the best way. Yeah, it is simply a way that had helped numerous street photographers around the world, past and present, yeah, in their creative journey to develop a body of work and to be recognized for the effort and the work that they have put in developing that. With that, I will open up the floor for any quick Q&A. But if you would like to have a more deeper conversation, I'm always open to explore more on this subject. But I just wanted to plant the idea and let you go and find out more about how to develop your own project and think in terms of planning and being more organized as photographers. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Sandeep. Really a thought-provoking presentation indeed. Probably we can organize something on this line and maybe have a further discussion someday soon. Let's move on to the next presentation. We are going to talk about another important aspect of photography, editing. Today, Praveen is going to talk to us about Snapseed, actually the very first Photopourri organized by PSSL in 2019. At that Photopourri also, Praveen sort of did an introduction to Snapseed. But since we have quite a few new members, we thought as much it's time to do a refresher, and we have only 15 minutes, so we are just going to do a quick introduction, and if our members are willing to, probably this will be a foundation to a more detailed extended session. Over to you, Praveen.
Thank you, Nami. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
And you can hear me clearly?
Loud and clear.
Super. All right. Hi. A very good evening, everyone. It's been a lot of radio silence from my end. I have not had the opportunity to do a lot of photography or be involved with PSSL for the past 2 years because of my studies. But I was really happy when Naomi said and called me and said, why don't you do a small session at this Photopourri? So as she rightly mentioned, last time I did a brief session on Snapseed. And I'll just do a quick introduction to Snapseed, and hopefully you will be able to get the hang of it. So my objective of this session is, hopefully, if you haven't tried Snapseed, if I can get you to try it, it will be something good, and hopefully you may like it. So I think this, to make it a little bit more engaging, I'd like to invite you guys to also take out your smartphone or your tablet and take a quick picture of this QR code and try to download it. Download the app if you don't have it already. If you have it, that's great. I think it's available for Android as well as iOS, and I have put the links on the screen. So you just need to take a quick picture. I'll also try to share it on the chat. So you can also click it and download it if you're already logging in from your phone. So while it downloads, let me just briefly touch on the background of Snapseed. So some of you all might use the Nik software program that's available for Photoshop, and it has a lot of useful filters. So Snapseed was actually developed by Nik, and then Nik was purchased by Google. So it's now freely available to all of us using Android or Apple. So it's a great tool, and it's always in our hands. So most of the new cameras, I know the Canons that I use have it, and I'm sure some of the cameras that you also have the capability of transferring your photograph directly to your phone. So the next time you go shooting, you might even be able to visualize what the output is. For me, because of time limitations, most of my editing happens on Snapseed itself. I even if I get a chance to use my camera, I try to edit it on Snapseed and to get the output on my phone, and I can you utilize it to either share it on Instagram or any other channels that I want to share it. What kind of work can you do with Snapseed? This is one example, something that I shot with my phone. Like I said, it's done on your mobile phone, so there is no right and wrong way. This is the style that I like. This is the before and after of this shot that I shot with my iPhone. This is also another shot that was taken with my iPhone some time back. This is used to tweak the colors up and down and to get the photograph the way I would like to see it. And this is also another example of how I have edited a standard photograph into something a little bit more vibrant and colorful. No, you may not be able to do all the advanced things that you do on Photoshop, but you might be able to do maybe 60 to 80% of what you need to do on your phone itself. So it's a way of saving time. It's a useful thing, and you can even do it while you're maybe even not at home and you got a little free time to spare. So having shown you what kind of work can be done on Snapseed, hopefully by now the application would have downloaded on your phone. So why don't you go and click it? So I'd like to invite you all to also try it with me. I'm trying to take you through a small journey of learning Snapseed during these 15 minutes. So if you have it open, it will be very much easier for you to understand. If I'm going too fast or slow, or if I'm not clear, please don't hesitate to interrupt. You can either use your chat, or you could speak out and tell me, and I will try to clarify then and there. When you open, you will probably see a screen like this. So regardless of where you click, you can open a photograph. So why don't you try to open a photograph that's on your phone, maybe something that you have taken with your smartphone, maybe something from your camera. I don't know, you can use anything saved on your phone, as well as you can use a camera, or you could even open the latest image that is available. So once you open from your device, if you click the open from device button, you will see something like this. All the images that are available on your phone will now be visible. So you can select any photograph that you like, and you will see a screen like this. So I'll just quickly help you navigate this screen so that it's easy for everyone. If you look at the top right, this part of your screen, and if you click that button, you will see a small menu like this coming. If you click on tutorials after today's Photopourri, you could easily learn all the tips and tricks on Snapseed itself. There are very short videos done by Google, which are very helpful for you to start editing. But I'll also take you through the basics so that you can get started. So the next one is the I button, which is there. So if you're not clear on the image that you're trying to identify, if you click the I button, you will be able to see the metadata. So if you've taken it with a smartphone or a GPS enabled camera, you'd see the location as well as the image information. If you take it on your camera, you'd see all the details, the camera details, etc. So the next menu is the one on the top right, this button, which will show you the menu to undo and redo. So the advantage of Snapseed is it doesn't actually break your image, or you can actually revert back and forth, and you can even see the edits that you've done. So you have multiple edits, and you can actually even change these where you don't, if you want to get rid of an action, you can do that. So it's actually a good way to edit, and you can go back and forth. The next aspect of Snapseed, so you can go back and forth with the edits. I will show you how to export the image as well. If you click on the bottom right export button, there are multiple options available. The most used version by me is save a copy, where you can actually create a copy, and you can also undo and redo on top of that copy. So it's like a saving another Photoshop file. There are many other ways where you can actually create a permanent image, as well as you can update the image that you have. and you can share to social media and open in other apps as well. So if we click on the bottom left, that's the looks. You see this this slider here. This is actually filters, which if you have used Instagram or if you have used Nick, these are pre-made filters by Snapseed. But this is not what actually is really interesting about Snapseed. It's when you click the tools button. If you click on the tools, you will suddenly see a lot of tools like you see on Photoshop. So these are a lot of different photo manipulation techniques available through Snapseed. But we will start off with the top left one, which is tune image. If you click on tune image, you will see a screen like this. So it's if you see this magic wand button, Naomi, can you confirm that you can hear me?
We can hear you, Praveen.
Yeah, sure. So if you click on the magic wand button, it's actually an auto optimize function. So if you don't want to go into the settings, you could click this and it will do the basics to make the photograph look interesting. But this button right here is what will open up the menu. So if you click this or click on any place on this screen, you will see a screen like this. So this is just a start. And unfortunately, 15 minutes is not enough to go into the details, but I will show you how to navigate this screen. This might be a little tricky for some of y'all. So if you swipe up and down with your thumb, you should be able to move between these settings, where if you want to move from brightness to contrast, to saturation, ambience, highlights, shadows, warmth, you could do that. And then how do you change this number? You swipe left and right. So it's very intuitive. It's actually very easy and user friendly. So you actually get to change all these settings through this. And once you're done, you will click the bottom right button, which is to proceed with that edit. So while you're changing, if you still want to see the original versus what you have now, you need to long press. You need to long press on top of the image, and you should be able to compare before and after. So that's a very brief introduction on how to edit. So there are a lot more features similar to this tune image. I would recommend for you all to try out the healing brush, which is like if you have any, if you're editing a portrait, for example, and if you want to get rid of pimples, or you could use the healing brush. Or if you want to get rid of maybe unwanted items in an image, you can use the healing brush. The selective is also an interesting tool where you can selectively edit in certain areas. Unfortunately, time will limit me, so I will not be able to go into much detail. But I would like to invite all of you all to try and explore this very interesting, very user-friendly mobile application called Snapseed. So I think I've nearly run out of time. So I think I will not be doing justice if I go into details. But if you would like to explore Snapseed more, or if you would like to have a separate discussion, I'm happy to speak to you. Or if you want a separate session done in depth, please go ahead and make a request to PSSL, and I'm sure they will arrange a separate session that is sufficient in terms of time. But if you have any questions on Snapseed, I'm happy to take it. I hope I'm not overstepping on time, Naomi.
No, of course, we can answer a few questions, Praveen. Any questions? I myself am a person who started using Snapseed, Praveen, after your session in 2019.
That's nice to hear.
So someone, I think, started asking a question.
Praveen, Dishani here. Can you just explain again how to use magic wand button? I couldn't get it properly.
So the magic, shall I quickly log in on my phone and try to show you? Give me a second to try to mirror my screen. Now, if you can accept me into the meeting on my phone.
Sure.
My screen is visible, correct?
Yes.
All right, so as you can see, if I click on the tune image button, so this is just the raw image of one of the raw images that I have taken. If I click on the tune image button, it has now auto-optimized. So it depends on the photograph. Each photograph will auto-optimize depending on the image qualities. So as you can see, the Snapseed has improved on the contrast and the warmth. That's what it feels it should change. So from each photograph to photograph, it will automatically set the settings, Dishani. If you may need to try it on different photographs. Just try out a new photograph, open up a new photograph on your end and click on the magic wand button, and it will optimize to a certain level, and then you can edit on top of it.
Okay, thanks. Get it.
Any other questions?
Just tell us about the selective. I'm using Snapseed. I have never used the selective thing.
I'm sorry if you don't
Mahin,
mind.
you're breaking. Mahin, not very clear.
Yeah, I know. I'm using Snapseed, but I have not done this selective editing. Can you just show us?
Sure. So I'm opening up the selective. Now, if I click on, can you see on the bottom, there is a plus icon. If I click on the plus icon and click anywhere on the image, you can see a B button now. If I can now actually increase the brightness in this area. This is very selective. As you can see, it will pick up only on the tones. So I can increase the brightness, I can increase the contrast or decrease the contrast. I can add another one, for example, somewhere here, and I can now increase on the saturation and change the size. So the saturation will only impact these tones in the red areas. I am actually using 2 fingers to change the size of the area impacted. As you can see, I'm changing now. If I swipe up and down, I can change between brightness, contrast, saturation, and structure. So I can actually create a lot of these selective areas, and I can actually edit a lot. As you can see here, the entire image can be manipulated section by section. Mine, I'm not sure whether I am clear.
I got it. Thank you. Thank you. I never used that tool. So healing goes the same way, I guess, no?
The healing brush is actually for example, if I want to get rid of this part, I can do that. Of course, it needs to be done in a proper manner. I need to take my time in editing this, but I can actually get rid of certain areas that I don't want to have.
Oh, so brilliant. Thanks a lot. I didn't realize those 2 features, what it could do. Thanks.
Super. Happy to have.
Right. Thank you very much, Praveen. So like we discussed, probably in a month or 2, we can organize a separate session to discuss Snapseed in detail. Let's move forward. Next, we have Rohana again to talk about editing, but on a specific type of editing. He's going to talk to us about his choice of black and white conversion, how he converts his images to black and white. Rohana, over to you.
Okay, Navi, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
Can I share my screen?
Go ahead, Rohana.
Thank you for giving me this slot, Naomi, and the organizers. It is about black and white conversion method of my choice. First, I will talk about why I love black and white photographs. Before I really give my reason, can I show this to you? and ask, can any one of you think the time of this picture, I mean, in which year that this has been taken, by whom? I can give 15 seconds. I know that the time is limited. You don't have to give me the answer, but you can think of it. Because this was captured by a photographer called Ruana Pereira last year. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Rohan. Yes.
Yeah. Last year, why I wanted to show that always a black and white picture gives a feeling of timelessness, and also it reveals shapes, lines and textures well. I can talk about this reason why it is going to reveal more shapes and lines and textures. Now, this is one of my early conversions. I used to convert into black and white all my color photographs using the desaturation or the saturation slider, and I used to pull it towards left until the photograph turns black and white, but I was never satisfied with the result I got. I always wanted to have a better result. So I was researching, and later I found a better method. Before I explain the method, let us see what a photograph is, or what a photograph consists of. The photograph consists of form and content. Form means the visual elements. That means the shapes, lines, texture and color. Like in this photograph, you can see the shape of the umbrella, shape of the man that he is walking, and there's a iron door, collapsible iron door behind him, and you can see the lines, vertical lines, horizontal lines and textures. So in every photograph, these elements can be found. So when we remove the color from the photograph, that we are left with the shapes, lines and texture, so that we can give the message or the meaning of the photograph, or the message that the photographer wants to reveal using the shapes, lines and texture. Once you remove the color, that is the only thing that is left. So we have to master the technique well, so that the meaning or the message is shared well. Now, when I convert this into black and white, the colors that are going to attract our attention will be lost, will not be there. And we are left with the lines and textures and the visual element, the man and the umbrella. So this is why I said the textures and the lines and the shapes are revealed better. I found about 12 methods of black and white conversion. You can later, I believe this is recorded, so you can go through the list later, because I am, due to the constraint of time, I'm going to tell you the two methods that I'm using now. I have given up desaturation method for a particular reason. After I understood the reason, then I am using this gradient map and the direct conversion of black and white in Photoshop. Now I created these rectangles consisting of red, green and blue for this demonstration. Now when you look at them, you tend to think that the green patch is the brightest and the red is the next, and this is the least bright. This is the subjective feeling that we get, but they all are numerically of the same brightness. each color has its own energy level, so we perceive this as a color with a higher brightness level, but it is not. They all are the same. So when I load this into Photoshop and add a layer, which the saturation adjustment layer, this is how the screen appears. And if I move the saturation slider towards right, and if I increase it to 100%, can you see the richness of the colors increases, but the difference or the contrast between them remains the same. It is maintained, and the richness, saturation is increased. If I move it towards left, we say that the colors are getting desaturated, and it's like as if we have added grayness into the colors. If I move it further, can you see all the colors end up in gray? So this is what happens if the color patches are of the same brightness. All the colors, there won't be any distinction. They all will turn into gray. Again, the neutral version, and let us now talk about the lightness scale. If we increase the lightness, the colors are becoming more and more white. That is what is meant by lightness. The colors are becoming, the white is added, and if the slider is moved to the extreme right, all the colors will become white. And if I move it towards left, the colors become dark, and extreme left means they all turn into black. Now this is a similar chart which I copied from a tutorial by Nick Reyes. He is the chief instructor of the Leica Academy Australia. One of his tutorials gave the same explanation. When in this chart of rainbow colors, you can see a jump from yellow to orange, orange to red. The color contrast is there. But in the meantime, they all are of the same brightness. Though we perceive that the green is brighter or the yellow is brighter, blue is darker, they all are of the same brightness. But when we desaturate, they all will become gray. And there's no distinction between blue and purple, no distinction between blue and green, because they all are of the same brightness. But if we use the black and white conversion in Photoshop, you can still see a jump from the gray tone here to here. The tone differences are maintained. That is the advantage of black and white conversion method, or using gradient map, the same result. You can get this kind of a difference in the tones as you convert into black and white. Now this is not white. If I add a white square, you can see the difference. This is a lighter gray, and this is white. And this is not black, this is dark gray, and the border of my screen is black. So this phenomenon we have to understand well to convert using the black and white, using Photoshop to convert into black and white. Now here's a photograph that I have. All the photographs, unless I specifically say that this belongs to someone else, all the photographs are mine. I mean, the things that I have captured. So the same photograph, if I desaturate, this is the result. If I convert into black and white to gradient map, using gradient map, I don't know whether the screen and using the zoom, whether it will be revealed. The contrast between this is as you get without adjusting, making any further adjustments. As you convert into black and white, this is the result. You get a better difference between the grays. Again, another photograph by Nick Rains, because I couldn't find a similar photograph. I didn't spend time to find a similar photograph. Now in this photograph, you have two walls. One is blue and one is yellow. Both are of the same brightness, and if it is not converted into black and white properly, can you see in this version, there's no distinction between the blue wall and the yellow wall. Whereas when it is properly done, you can see the difference between the blue wall and the yellow wall. So this is the reason why I have given up the desaturation method. I'm sure most of you may be using black and white conversion or the gradient map or any other method. I'm trying to share my experience of why I gave it up. So my workflow, I always start with Photoshop. I convert it into black and white. The moment you use the black and white conversion layer, you get this scale, this panel, where you can adjust all the colors. Now see, this is, you are adjusting not the saturation, you are adjusting the lightness of each color. You can independently vary the lightness of each color. Now this is not actually Photoshop. I'm using screenshots to save time. I did use the real Photoshop here during this presentation. They all are screenshots. So if I want to increase the lightness of the red, I can adjust this slide. And then I use Silver Effects Pro 2 of Nick to get a better, you can do a lot of fine adjustments with this. You can, you have the same panel here, and also you have the system of filters. During post-processing, you can add filters and get the contrast and the tonal differences better. Also, there are many other finishing tools found in this software. And my favorite is Topaz Studio 2. This is a tool, I think I'm using this maybe 90% of the time to do all my black and white or color. If I don't use this, as if I have not edited the photograph. So I have to use this. I'm so used to this. And you have when you use the black and white filter, you get this panel. You can adjust many colors independently of the other colors and get the tonal differences very well. And you can do many things with this tool. This is how I do. I'm not a very good Photoshop wizard, but all my pictures that you have seen, I am using Photoshop, either Nick or most of the time it is Topaz Studio 2. So now again, my earlier version, desaturation, I was not very happy because of the amount of noise that I used to see, and I don't see the contrast that I am wanting to see. So when I use the black and white conversion, straight away the noise improves. And if I add Topaz, the noise is very, very less, and I can end up the processing at the desired level, depending on my mood and what I want to have finally. I somehow get it. So this is what I wanted to share with you. and I will show you a few of my photographs. This is the raw file which I processed into a black and white picture using Photoshop and Topaz Studio tool, where I have taken a very good contrast and revealing the lines, the textures, and with Topaz Studio 2 you can do this type of manipulations where you control your highlight and direct all the attention towards the centers of interest. So this is a picture that works with color because there's a nice color contrast between blue and yellow. They are complementary colors, but I like to have a black and white version because this lady waving at the passengers of the boat becomes much more prominent in black and white version, and her dress, the texture, the designs, everything become more prominent. I don't know, one might say that the color version is good or better than black and white. This is my personal feeling. I always produce photographs for my own satisfaction, and if another person, if I can resonate another person and get that person's attraction to my picture, I'm happier. Okay, Naomi, how much time have I used?
We can spare about 5 minutes for questions.
Oh, thank you. Because I would like to discuss another thing, taking about 2 minutes, because I prepared this presentation on Poya Day, and this is the last slide that I wanted to have. I thought I will be using my 15 minutes once I come to this slide. Then late in the evening Poya Day, I uploaded this photograph which I captured during our PSSL excursion to Polonnaruwa. And this one, my taste is, my desire is to leave it at this level of color contrast. I like this texture that is revealed within this left part of the photograph, all the redness and the mold or whatever on the stones or the bricks, and the green grass with a dull green, and the female figures in white, and this one has off-white dress, the very pale blue or light blue sky, and the black rock here with all the texture here. I'm quite satisfied with this, and I got a lot of likes and comments for this photograph. And one of the comments that I received is by Lab, who said, why don't you make this black and white, adding a red filter and darkening the sky? So I thought I will discuss why I don't think that say if I had the opportunity to capture this with a red filter and in monochrome, yes, then the sky will be darkened. But in the color file, if this is the lightness of the sky, this cannot be darkened with a red filter in Nik or whatever. Now I'll show you. This is what you get as you load this into Nik, and the neutral version, I suppose. I think this is neutral version. You can see a good contrast between the grays, and see what happens to the sky. The sky appears in very light gray. If I add a red filter, see what happens. The darkness that I am achieving is very little, but the red in the skin tones, the red color and the bricks, and red filter allows greens to pass through. Again, I will withdraw. Now this is without the red filter. This is when the red filter is added. So, I don't know, I am not happy with this version. So, I would like to keep it at this with colors, very unsaturated or very light colors, with which I am very happy. I don't know what you think about it, because I always believe in photography there's no right or wrong. I heard this several times, many of our members telling this. I also believe in that there's no right or wrong. There's always chance for improvement in any photograph. So this is the message that I wanted to share with you, my experiences, and that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share.
Thank you again, Rohana. So if you all want to go back to Rohana's methods of conversion, we will be uploading this session onto our YouTube channel soon. So we will keep you posted once it's done. Then you can go back and check on his methods. Let's move on to the next presentation. Before Rohana, we listened to the son. Now we will be listening to the father. Sam is going to talk to us about creative photography. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks. In fact, this presentation is going to be on behalf of the creative group, one of the newest groups in the PSSL, which was formed last year during the lockdown period. Almost about 15-16 months of time has been spent on this. And it had actually created a lot of interest and enthusiasm. So what I would be doing is, is my screen visible now, Naomi?
Yes, Sam, yes. Probably you can go on, yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I will be actually sharing some pictures that our members shared with me to be showcased here. I will also try and share a few pieces of information about what we had done in the creative group, as well as try and demystify or actually some of the myths around this creative photography. I will try to dispel them. And hopefully at the end of this presentation, some of you who are already not into creative photography will take the jump. And my task is even easier because all the presentations before me and hopefully the two presentations after me are also going to be more towards this direction. So let me start off with this, and these pictures that I'm going to show are from our members, and I'm not going to talk too much about the images because those are not necessarily mine, but I'm trying to show them just to encourage you and to request you all to consider this as an area of activity. This is by Manju Alahakon. Actually, this is an award-winning picture that she had created recently. It has already won 2 honorable mention ribbons, one FIAP, and I think the other one is from Salon Kula or something, where she got an FIAP plus this Salon ribbon, honorable mention ribbon. The next one is actually a mouth-watering picture that Naomi Thomas did from our group recently and shared with us. During our lockdown period, we were going into all sorts of activities, and this is one of the very interesting double exposures, slow shutters that was done by Mahe. And we also dabbled in creative composites, and this is an image created by Mitra Virakon called Flying High. We cannot separate Laya from his saxophone, and obviously this is Laya's picture of his own saxophone done during a lockdown period in the last year, all as part of our creative group activities. And this one is actually Pandula, one of the most award-winning photographer in Sri Lanka, member of PSSL and a member of the creative group, who has done this new creation recently shared with me to be showcased here. Thank you, Pandula, for that. And I'm not sure whether this has already been submitted for competitions and whether it has won any awards, but a lovely creation once again, Pandula. We have dabbled in various in-camera techniques, and this is the take that Marvin did, a painterly effect of a scenery. Then we had Lanka joining Pandula in some excursions and photo shoots, and she has also done a very interesting composite which she has shared with me. So this is again a creative photograph or a creative image that has been created using different components of different pictures. One of our more recent additions to the Photographic Society as well as to the PSSL creative group, Dishani, actually showcased 3 different pictures of 3 folks. And the light and shade, the shadows, the play of shadows, the lines, all that actually is showcasing the talent that is there and the capabilities that one has in terms of creativity. We also had a challenge that was run amongst the creative group members to use one light and come up with different pictures. And this is an image that was captured by my wife, Kaumini. And more recently, once again, one light, and I captured her face, and in a more abstract way rather than a direct presentation of an image. So these are a few things that, and thank you everyone who shared the pictures with me to showcase here. These are things that we have done in the creative group as well as outside the creative group, but in creative photography. Now, when it comes to creative photography, there's a lot of myths and there's a lot of misinterpretations. I would like to take this opportunity also to dispel some of these myths and misinterpretations. One of the biggest fears and obstacles or of things that hold back people getting into creative photography is because they think you have to be an expert in Photoshop or any other application where you can do composites and image manipulation. Some may even go to the extent of saying that creative photography is not photography. It's manipulation, it is art, it is this and so many other things. But let me share with you some of the things that fall into the creative group or creative category. And once I move forward a little bit, you would understand what I'm trying to say here, and the myths that are there would be hopefully be taken away. There are different ways in creativity or creative photographs can be taken. One, there is a lot of in-camera techniques that can be used to take pictures, like zooming, panning. Panning, most of us have done, but zooming, slow shutter, intentional camera movement, things like that have not been that popular or familiar, and therefore we don't use the capability of a camera that we have spent a lot of money on to the fullest or to the maximum. And we think that those things only can be done through Photoshop. No, it is not so. Then we can also do creative setups. It can be through intervention on lighting, props, framing, angle or equipment that you use. Then, of course, we have creativity through post-processing, where you can do layering, composites, then you have altered or augmented reality, and then you get complete 100% digital creations. These are different techniques or things that fall into creative photography or creative art. Now, in the PSSL creative group, we have tried to address these things over the last year and a half or so. We actually created a forum where our members can share images, and then they can get feedback as critique, as we learn from one another. We tell not only that the picture is good, but we also share our thoughts as to how to improve them. Now that is a very significant impact that we try to bring in the group, so that we get to know where we can improve. Because unless somebody tells us where our pictures are not coming out right or there's something that can be improved upon, we don't know unless somebody else points it to us. So this is something that we have tried to do through the creative group. And overall, we are trying to improve the awareness and the appreciation of creative photography and the understanding of that, and to improve and help our members to improve their creative levels. Now, as a group, we ran several competitions or challenges, fortnightly challenges, where we tried to do various things in zooming, panning, international camera movements, spinning, double exposures or multiple exposures, and then creative setups, and all of them put together. Now, this actually was very helpful during the COVID lockdown period, because a lot of us didn't have anything else to do, and we couldn't also take our cameras out or take photos. So during this period, this was actually a very well taken process, and we ran through these things and learned a lot through our own experimentations and also through the feedback that we got during the period. We also found that our members certain members lack an understanding on appreciation of Photoshop, and we ran a program exclusively for the members of the PSSL Creative Group over a period of 6 weeks to demystify Photoshop and to give a basic understanding of what you can do with Photoshop. We ran a competition where we showed the before and after shots once we learned a certain amount of Photoshop skills. And then we had very, very interesting presentations done by our own members. The first one was kicked off by Manju Alakonchu, who shared some of her very, very creative work and some of the award-winning creations and some processes that she used or the elements that she used to create those things. Followed up with Laya, who shared his exposure or experience in creative experiments to us. Then we had George presenting another series of pictures where he has done and learned new techniques and shared those techniques with the group. Mahin also had done some things and some very, very creative and unique pictures that he was able to come up with. He shared with us and told us what he did and how he did it so that we could also create those things on our own. Sandeep took us through a psychedelic journey with his creative photography during the lockdown period and the things that he did with his camera and his setups. And it was very interesting, and also shared the techniques that he used to do the post-processing, which has also been taken up by some of the other members. We also found that there is a lot of room for creativity in thinking and setting up and shooting, and Ruchira came up with a fantastic presentation about his toy photography. Of course, we brought in Mahinda Jeevananda, an award-winning photographer, who came and explained to us about the thinking process in creative work to all of us, and encouraged us to look at things differently and do things differently. And thereafter, Naomi had this mouth-watering presentation about her food photography, an area that she loves to do, and is sharing a lot of her work amongst her friends and on Instagram. I shared some of my work in another presentation, more targeted towards the creative areas, and also about the Capture This monthly presentation, monthly competition. So thereafter, we had another completely different genre of creative work coming through, coming from Varuna Amarasinghe, all the way from Australia, about astrophotography, something that majority of us have not tried out, but very interesting and informative presentation that he did. We also ran a competition where we had to do 5 images and explain it with 5 words about ourselves. Think, a self-learning experience and trying to understand our creative mind. Then we had another session where we had to create 5 images of the same subject using only 1 light. A fantastic opportunity for us to learn how to use lighting. Mitra did one of the very difficult presentations or workshops online on how to do lighting. That was followed by another presentation between myself and my wife on how to light up using one light for the benefit of the members. We had all these things, and as you can see, creative photography is not only using Photoshop, but there are different ways in which you can actually manipulate your camera or use the setup to come up with creative work, as we have already seen in the presentations that have been done before this. These are some of the pictures that I have collected from the that have been shared amongst the members in our Facebook group. So permit me to also share some of the work which are falling into all these categories. I'm not going to name the authors because of the time constraints, but you can see the different types of photographs that one can take if one thinks and unleashes the creative mind that one has. A before and after shot, a before and after shot, lighting, and then once again, lighting using only one light. And you get different picture images of the same subject. You can also do a composite using a completely a setup picture, but use it to a composite. Or it's a completely a setup where you showcase the talent. Maybe even just a bunch of flowers. Adding a bit of light here and there makes it more attractive and creative. And a few pictures that I have done. These are some of my recent composites. Okay. As you can see, creativity is in your mind. Creativity is in your hands. How you use your camera, how you manipulate your camera, how you end up with a picture is all up to you. Recently, when I went up to my rooftop garden, it was invaded with weeds and bees and butterflies. This was a scene that greeted me. My first reaction was to use the lawnmower, but my Sena council prevailed, and I ended up taking pictures like these. So it is not essentially only in composites that you get creativity, but you can do creativity in any genre that you're using or any genre that you're interested in. So hopefully, I have been able to dispel some of the myths and misinterpretations about creative photography. And once those myths and misinterpretations are taken away, I would invite you to think of creative photography as creativity in photography. Thank you. That is my short presentation. Hopefully, I've been able to do justice for the 15 minutes. And thank you very much for all the members of the creative group who shared pictures with me and those who were listening to me. If there are any questions, I'm there to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Sam, for that wonderful presentation. So now that we have demystified creative photography, I hope whoever else is not part of the group, if you all are willing to join the group, contact Sam, Ruvini, or anyone of PSSL Executive Committee. We will get you into the group. Thank you, Sam, again. Now we are going through to another interesting presentation. We are going to talk about Dora Maar. She was a French photographer, painter, as well as a poet. She was also depicted in a number of paintings of Picasso's. Because of that, Romesh calls her the muse of Picasso. Let's see what Romesh has to tell us about her. Over to you, Romesh.
Yeah, thanks, Naomi. I hope everybody can hear me. So a little bit of a different journey from the present to some history. I've always been interested in the photographers who were there long years ago. And so this is a bit of a journey to the 1920s and 30s. I'm not sure how many of you are interested, but this is necessarily from the film era. And I would like the older amongst the crowd, if I may use that word, like Laya and not Sam, but yeah, maybe Sam and the others, just to take part.
Pick me up.
Yeah.
Also, Robesh and Viran.
Yeah. So let's make it a little interactive, because otherwise others might find some of the terms and some of the actually the focus of the presentation sometimes may be a little different. Right. Naomi, can I share the screen?
Go ahead, Ramesh.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
All righty. Okay. Now, yeah. So you gave out the name. Who is Henrietta Theodora Markovich? Of course, Dora Maar, as we know her. So, Naomi, you said that she was the muse of Picasso. She was the muse of Picasso for paintings, but she was a muse for another person for photography. And these are the photographs that somebody else took of her. Anybody would know who the other person was, or who the other person for whom she was the muse? Any guesses?
Bresson?
Sorry?
Bresson?
No, Man Ray. Right? So Man Ray was also an American photographer who was in this era of the 1930s. He was in Paris at that time. And he took some lovely portraits of her. As you can see, Man Ray was into a lot of different types of photography. And this is a photograph where he has used a technique called solarization. I'm not familiar with solarization. It is something to do with sort of tone reversal, which you do in film, where you find that the lighter colors or the lighter tones in the image is shown as dark and so on. And he was also into this technique called the photogravure. Photogravure is, of course, a sort of a way you do some, graining of a copper plate, and then you do the picture. So you see this sort of this, how would I say, a surreal effect on the black and white. It's not really a black and white, it's a monochrome print, but it gives you a sort of a copperish sort of a feel. He was also quite a surreal photographer. I mean, you can see this image, sort of a montage of Man Ray. This is of Dora Maar that he has taken. And then, of course, there's a bit of a conventional picture where she's depicted as a working woman. So these are Man Ray's photographs of her, for whom she was a muse. But we are not going to talk about Man Ray and the relationship that she had with him. We're really going to talk about somebody else and the relationship that Dora Maar had with this person. Anybody could guess who this person is? Picasso, of course. So here she is on holiday with her lover, her friend, and being her muse. You know, sometimes I remember somewhere it is said that you never get to meet your heroes, and most of the time. But I think most of the time you really don't get to know too much about your heroes too. I really don't know whether anybody of you knows what sort of a person Picasso was. Picasso actually was not a very nice person. Picasso was a real monster. And we don't need to use that word very lightly. He was really a nasty piece of work, physically as well as mentally. Sorry. And it is said that if he lived during this period of time, when the Me Too movement is there and so on, it is said that most of his work will be pulled down, or it may come to that. So with such a sort of a reputation, or being the man he was, I'm not sure whether it will be difficult to sort of appreciate his work. I mean, I don't know. It's such a personal thing. It depends on the individual. So here, Dora Maar actually photographed Picasso quite a bit. And here he is, or she documented one of his greatest famous works that he did called Garunika. I don't know whether you know about this. This is a huge painting done during or after the Spanish Civil War, depicting the pain and so on of the war and how he was affected by it. And if you're interested, you can just go through this blog and sort of try to understand what this painting is about. There's so many elements working together and so on. Bit confusing unless, of course, you're into abstract and so on. So Picasso always represented Dora Maar as a tortured and anguished woman. And one of the best known portraits of Dora Maar that Picasso did is called Weeping Woman. Actually, you feel that she could be anguished because of this tremendous relationship that she would have been having with this man. More than being a representative woman, representative of her talent, her beauty, or her, the time, the era, she's just depicted like this. So this is how Picasso continued to sort of show her or portray her in his paintings. I really don't think anybody can, recognize Dora Maar in any one of these paintings, and you just wonder what sort of a thought process he would have had. I mean, like a photographer, we heard that you need to have a thought process. Sandeep spoke about. So I really don't know. Probably that pain, that suffering, that confusion that Picasso felt due to the effects of the Spanish Civil War, or whatever was going on in his mind, was mostly coming out because he thought that she was more representative of that pain and suffering for some reason. Too complicated for me anyway. There was one, this particular portrait, she felt that it sort of looked like her. But that was very funny because in this, it just looks like a horse. So she was so angry, and she never sort of acknowledged. And she said, these portraits are absolute lies. They are not of me. They are of Picasso. So I think what she's really saying is the complexity and that the confusion that is shown in those portraits are really what is in Picasso's mind, not really what you see in those colors. And this actually was her response. She drew this and depicted him like a clown. So you can see the difficult relationship that this man and woman was having. You can see the anger. This is a negative that she had done. And now she had sort of distorted the negative around this guy's head, this Picasso's head. So you see this the effects of a difficult relationship manifesting in different ways. So there's quite a bit of anger that she shows through this negative. And you can actually understand why, because Picasso had another muse. And, you know, he was such an abusive guy towards Dora. And he really made her fight, physically fight Marie Therese Walter, who was the other lady, right, for his attention and love. So as I said, he was absolutely a nasty piece of work. So this is a picture of Marie Therese Walter. She was a model. She was a French model, and with whom Picasso had a daughter. So regardless of all this, she was a great photographer. And, you know, when she set up a shop in Paris in the 1930s, she also met another young photographer by the name of Brazai, Eula Halaes, a Hungarian French photographer. He's also quite famous. You get a lot of books on her, and they together shared a dark room. And Brazai had a very strange way of describing her. And he said she has bright eyes and attentive gaze and a very disturbing stare at all times. So this was a time of surrealism. And you could see it in her work. I mean, surrealism was a movement where, you know, people depicted things inspired by dreams and so on. So kind of a conscious, unconscious sort of a visual depiction. And she was heavily influenced by that. So without showing directly what you see, without photographing directly what you see, you use them as props or links to show or to create ideas. So even though she was not really admired as a photographer during her time, she was one of the greatest female photographers. And she was a great street photographer. This is one of the images that she took of Paris street. This is called A Man Looking Down a Hole. She also dabbled in different techniques. Now, this is a double exposure. She also had the muse. Her friend was Lee Miller, another photographer herself, or another model, and she did a lot of photography of Lee Miller. Now, this is a different type of a photograph. This is all in the foreground. This is called foreground work. And she called it the Carousel at Night, shot in 1931. Asia, the name of the photograph, 1934. Different technique, light. This is one of her most famous photographs. It's called The Shell Hand, shot in 1936. This is Lee Miller again, her muse. Now, this is a little different photograph. If you look closely, you'll find that this has got painted over. So even though they didn't have Photoshop then, they did different work after the photograph was taken. So this is a photograph that has a clear influence on the work that Man Ray did, because Man Ray did most of more photography like this. And this was his technique. This sort of a montage, strange, weird. We have no idea what she was thinking when she was doing this. She did a lot of commercial work at that time in her studio, and this is one of her commercial pictures done for some company then. Supposed to be a famous bird lady, a person who was dealing in birds in Paris in the 1930s. Well, this is an interesting photograph. This is sort of a staircase. And she has named this the simulator, which is sort of a bit of a unheard word then, shot in 1934. She also did a lot of fashion work, covering, she did some work for the Vogue magazine then, and for some other magazines and so on when she established herself. She called it a model seated. So once again, foreground work, I mean, not many of us really do this anymore, isn't it? Here's a picture of Kew Gardens, the Royal Botanical Gardens in London, and apparently this spiral staircase is still in existence, shot in 1937. Now for a few of surreal work depicting through this visual medium something which could mean different things to different people, I guess. This has got to be a double exposure, I feel. Once again, sort of a montage or a collage, some work done in the sort of the post-developing process. But you're always left with the thought, okay, what is she trying to say? You end up with a question. Sometimes you can use a reverse process. You have the answer, but you have no clue of the question. Child with a Beret, 1932. This is one of her rare self-portraits. So photograms are where it's called cameraless photography, where you use photosensitive, light-sensitive paper, and you keep different objects and you expose it to light, and sort of you get a picture out. So this is a portrait of Dora Maar taken by Lee Miller in Paris. This is in her apartment, and the backdrop you can see one of her portraits done by Picasso. That's it.
Thank you again, Ramesh.
Welcome.
So with that, we have come to the last presentation for the day. And we actually have two presenters for this presentation, Pandula and Lanka. They're going to tell us about a model shoot with people around us. Over to you, Lanka and Pandula.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, PSSL, for inviting us to do this presentation. So let me share my screen. Okay. Today's our presentation is model shoot with people around us. Actually, myself and Lanka doing this presentation, and this will be with two parts. One is the turban shoot. The other one is 3-theme shoot. So I'll be handling the first part. So let me tell you a few things how we came up to this point. So I have been doing some model shoots since 2017, and I did some international shoots as well as national shoots as well. But all the shoots actually with the help of somebody else. We had to pay for the models. Naomi, can you hear me?
Yes, Pandula.
Okay. With the help of somebody else, actually, especially the lighting and the technical supports. Most of the time, one of my cousins who helped me, and then Tisara and also Prasangarat Nayaga helped me. In internationally, we had to pay for somebody and ask him to arrange the whole setup. So the turban shoot, just before this turban shoot, myself and Lanka did another shoot that is actually with a professional model. This helped me in the lighting in that particular shoot. So after that shoot, I told Lanka that I have a idea of doing a African model shoot kind of thing. So then actually she gave me a challenge. So why don't you do your own lighting and own technical setup and everything. So at that time, actually, I didn't know how to handle lighting, how to adjust the power, how to take all these the angles and everything. But I took that challenge. And also she said, this time, just because we are always into the competitions, why are we going to pay so much money on these models? So we'll take someone from our close circle, like relations, like close friends, likewise. So I said, perfectly okay. You can select whoever who want, and I will prepare with the lighting session. So finally, for the African shoot, actually we could find a single person from Sri Lanka. So then what I thought was, just as a experiment, I told Lanka, we'll leave it out the African shoot thing. We'll go with a turban shoot. You can be my model. Actually, she was a bit reluctant, but finally we had so many discussions, and this is kind of a learning experience. So after that, she agreed to do modeling to me. So after that, what we did was we create a folder, common folder in Pinterest, and we searched so many ideas like poses and different kind of dresses with turbans. And what we did was we save all those images in that common folder. And finally, we select about 7 or 8 themes with turban and also without turban. Right. Then after that, we had another challenge, how we find all these dressers. So she took that challenge as well, and she said,
Pandula, sorry to trouble you. Are you moving ahead with the presentation? Because we are seeing only the first slide.
Yeah. I'm not moving. Wait.
All right. Okay.
I will explain
Sure.
first. Go with the. Okay, so then she said, I don't want to buy anything, but actually finally we bought one dress, and all the other dresses from her own collection, even the ornaments like necklaces and earrings and everything from her collection. Even the turban, she had so many clothes for that particular purpose, right? So then the next challenge was the makeup artist. Then she said she has a little bit of experience about makeup, and she said she can manage somehow. And I also don't like much of makeup in model shooting. So she took that challenge also. And I at the same time, I used to study a lot of YouTube videos about lighting and how we should set up the angles and everything. So finally, everything is set. And actually, I was really nervous because she's one of my very good friends. I'm going to shoot her tomorrow, and on my own with lighting and everything. So that day she came with her friend. She's a doctor, and she helped in dressing and other makeups and other things. And also, I think she has gone through many YouTube about how to dress the turban. So after that, we did that shoot. I think that came very nicely. So let me show you the kind of photographs we did finally. So these are the portraits and different kind of dresses we select for this turban shoot. And also this one, this is another kind of pose, and this came up in the last month PSA journal as well, because in that journal, every year there are three people will give this opportunity to have this main article from the world. So I gave 36 images, and they have selected about 10 out of 10 that two images are from the Lanka shoot. And this is kind of a Punjab turban. All these, the backgrounds are created. And look at this one. This is kind of a night environment. We took this from this photograph. And high key kind of a photograph from the same shoot. And this one is not a turban. As I said, we have selected few other poses as well. And this is with the photograph with Portour, actually, especially for the European side competitions. And this one is without the Portour. This will go to Indian type competitions. And this is another pose actually we did. We took this idea from the Pinterest, and we practiced the same thing exactly what we saw in the Pinterest. Actually, she did a very challenging thing, because she has to undergo a lot of training about how to do posing and stuff like that. But finally, she came brilliantly. And this is the first shot I got a gold medal from this particular shoot. Actually, as of now, I have about more than 20 awards for this particular shoot only. So these are the other photographs. The backgrounds are from different areas. This is from Wuhan, China. I took this in 2019. And another one, this is also, again, I won another gold medal for this creation. And again, this one is also from a Chinese background. So as I said, we have done quite a few themes. Okay, these are the photographs we did. And the second one was the shoot with 3 themes. Actually, soon after, say about 1 week after the turban shoot, Lanka sent me some travel photographs which she had. Just she wants me to select for the competition. When I saw those photographs, most of the photographs are from UK. Those are very old buildings, and also from Europe. Then I just said, why don't we try a nun shoot? So then she took up the challenge, and she came up with the idea, because we are bit experienced now. Even she's experienced what is studio setup, and what kind of timings we are spending on these places. So she said, since we are booking the studio for the whole day, might as well do a 3 theme shoots, not only a 1 theme. So nuns is a 1, and 2 other shoots as well. So I will ask Lanka to take from this place, and she will explain how she committed to this particular shoot. Lanka, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Pandula. Actually, it was a great experience for me working with Pandula. And also this nuns shoot, it's he who said that we'll do a nuns shoot. So then we had to go through the internet and kind of see how the costumes look like. And then he decided like maybe we should go for the black costume. So because since we wanted to do with people around us, I asked one of my friends and her daughter to join us, and also my niece. And then what we did was we asked them to, okay, we downloaded this image with the black costume. And then we asked my friend to get the clothes ready, like the black dress and also the white collar and stuff. So we managed to kind of get the costume together with the stuff that we had. And also, our aim was not to like spend too much of on costumes or other things. So we after that we told them to do their own makeup, because it was a bit of a challenge actually. Um, this whole photo shoot, because with the people around us, because our main thing was we thought we were going to do this without actually spending on models or makeup artists or things like that. So it was a bit of a challenge. But finally it came out really well. And also in this shoot, what we did was we created a common account on Pinterest so that we can share all the poses and things on the nuns shoot. And then we did it in the studio, and it actually turned out quite good. And the one, my friend is also a PSSL member, the one who helped us. And then we did a creative shoot. That was the second shoot. That was also with the stuff that we had, like things like colanders and all this from the kitchen, so that we can, how we selected those was, first we took the object and we used a phone light and projected it on the wall so that we know what sort of a like pattern it is. And then we used it on the model. So I would say all in all, it was quite a challenging photo shoot. And then Pandula's niece also, we did another shoot, because as he said, it was a shoot with 3 themes. So that also we use the props like banana leaves and polythene and things like that. You will see like when he shows the pictures. So yeah. Now this is the shoot that we did with his niece. The prop here we are using is a banana leaf. So this I just I created this poster, Save Girl Child, because I thought it was an interesting image. And yeah, this is another picture that we created with her using the polythene thing, cling film. So it was all like actually from things around. Yes. And this is also the banana leaf thing. It's a cropped version. Actually, this image won a gold medal in a competition. And this one, yeah, this is a picture of my niece. And that is also like, I have used a background which I had in Australia with this image. And this is the creative lighting thing. We have like kind of got this design onto her face, and then I thought it kind of looked like a spider web. So I did this composite with the spider picture, actually spider from, I think, Singharaj. And this one is also from the Nance shoot. And the background is from Cambridge. That's Newton's apple tree. So because I thought it will go with this particular image. And this one is also the same background. This is actually my friend in the middle, and her daughter and my niece. And yeah, this is also the image is from Austria, a church, and from the nuns shoot. This actually, the background is from Spain, and the cross is from Italy, I think, and also a composite using the image. This actually, Sam already showed you this image. This is the background scenery is from Cotswold, and the cross also I just put it. So it's a composite. So yeah, this was shot in the studio, but I did the stained glass window. I took it from chapel in France, I think. Yeah. This background is from Malaysia, I think. So it's actually the same picture which I have been using different backgrounds from the collection that I have. So it was quite interesting doing all these questions.
Okay.
And these are now Pandula's pictures.
Okay. Thanks, Lanka. Now, I want to tell you now, before this shoot, we plan all these creatives because first we checked what we have. Actually, Lanka had a lot of European style backgrounds, which I didn't have. I had some background from Sri Lanka and also from China and India as well. So whatever it is, we plan everything. So even this shoot, I plan, and the previous the photograph, Lanka plan. So we knew how to tell them you have to do this pose. So it's all planned. So without a plan, you can't do actually this kind of a shoot. So these are the creations which I did, and this the tea state from Noor earlier, and the church is from somewhere around Gold, and those two houses from China. So likewise, we planned everything. And if you look at this one, even this walking, we told them to do like this. So that's how we get all these creations with what I have. And look at the Naoma, actually, she won't agree with me because I made a little bit older in this one because I want to. Actually, I did the similar kind of picture earlier as well. But straight away, I won some medals for this one. Actually, the nun shoot was highly successful. And at the moment, I think I have more than 10 gold medals out of this nun shoot. Even this one is also, again, the background is from China and the other parts from so many places. This is, I think, Sam showed this picture. Actually, I have including 2 gold medals, I have 7 awards for this particular image. Okay, this similar kind of thing with the snow environment. And this is again Lanka's niece. And this background is from Vilpat. And the house is from China again. So we made all these wooden frames. These are very, very cheap things, and in my office, I manufacture all these kind of things. So this is one of the creative lightings we did during that shoot. Okay, that's it from my side, and thank you very much. Thank you, Lanka, for all the support, and thanks all our models who help us in this journey. So if you all have any questions, you can ask now.
And also, I would like to thank Pandula for getting me involved in this, because this is something totally new to me, because I know that he has been doing a lot of this model. So this studio shoot thing, and because I'm really interested in this creative photography and doing these composites. So this studio shoot really helped me. And yeah, thank you, Pandula. And also the models like Naoma and my niece and his niece also, who supported to make this challenge a success, I would say.
Yeah, if you have any questions, we are ready to answer.
Totally mind blown. I absolutely love that image with 2 nuns inside the room, and there's a demonic appearance outside the window. Something, did I see something that was not there? Or was it that was there, right?
Which one you're talking about?
That was the last image before the one that Lanka showed. If you go back, I don't know, maybe I am seeing some things, but there's a
which one? No, you mean the one somebody was peeping from the window one, or this one? This one?
Not this one.
No.
Way before
this.
Was it
that
from
one?
Yeah, this.
Yeah, this kind of a horror scene.
This one, is it?
This is amazing. Yeah.
No, this actually, this was in Malaysia. It was actually a film show. They were having this sort of a advertisement kind of thing. In the real picture, I was posing with somebody, so I had to take that out and use that picture to make this composite. because I thought it was kind of interesting with the nuns.
So symbolic. Really love this photograph.
In this Lanka's photographs, she did all the Photoshop and everything.
Yeah, it is not as excellent as Pandula's because it's not in that well maybe, but it was interesting. Give it a try.
Just one last comment. I really admire the point about planning everything. I'm a huge supporter of planning shoots, not doing ad hoc things. So it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Pandula, on a technical level, this is Laya here. What kind of lenses and shutter speeds do you use? I presume that the photography is done in a studio with black backgrounds, I guess.
Yeah, actually, in this shoot, I use 135 1.8 lens, and the shutter speed is 200 because these are with the light, so I didn't use high speed sync. It's the normal lighting, so the shutter speed is 200.
Okay. And what kind of the apertures were you using with these ones? For
Actually,
example,
some photographs I used 1.8 as well. Normally I use 9.
Okay. Because there's good depth of field, I see that, and very sharp.
Yeah, but because 135 lens is very sharp. Actually, Lanka used 70 to 200, 2.8.
Okay. So why in a just a matter of interest in a studio where you don't have any cluttering background and everything, why do you go for something like a 70 to 200 rather than a prime lens like we were talking about earlier on 35 millimeter or 50 millimeter, 90 millimeter, that type of thing?
Actually, Lanka used to that lens. That's why she want to go with 7200. Even the 7200 and 2470 is one of the best lenses in all kind of brands, I guess.
Okay.
It's not a variable aperture. It's always 2.8. Even sometimes.
Oh, I see. That's a prime lens.
It's not a prime lens. It's
no, this is I know the one. Yeah, that doesn't change the variable, the aperture,
yeah,
right?
it won't change, and it's very expensive also in every brand.
I know.
2470 and the 7200. It's one of the best lenses.
Yeah.
Even I use the prime lens 135 1.8 because I just want to take some of the close shots. That's why.
Okay. Beautiful. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very sharp.
Yeah, actually 135 1.8 is super sharp. It's the one of the best lenses that Sony has ever made.
Okay.
Now it's a G Master lens. It's very sharp. Even the Lanka shoot, I did 100% with that 135 1.8 lens.
Okay. That too is a Sony? Was that a Sony lens too, Pandula?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sony. Even the Lanka shoot from the Sony, it's 7200, it's a Sony G Master lens.
Okay.
Lovely. Any other comments or questions? I think
Alvin?
Yeah.
To find out now in terms of the backgrounds, how do you all save such a lot of backgrounds and keep? Do you have like a way of naming all the backgrounds so that you can use it for a later date?
Yeah, actually it's like this. Now, if you take this photograph, right? So this pathway is from China, right? And the side kind of castle is from again China, and the next the church that is from our second visit to Goal, I think, with Pandugasa. On the way, normally he stops at one particular place. I can't remember the name of this church. So I took it from that. So I have various type of kind of background. So it's you have to use it very correctly. But the other thing is you have to keep it in your mind how you took that shot. what is the aperture, what is the angle, everything has to be matched. So that's why I said before this shoot, we planned everything. We talk a lot, Lanka and myself, because I know she had so many travel photographs.
Right. Thank you.
I guess planning makes a big difference.
Sorry?
Planning makes a big difference, I said.
Yeah, huge difference. That's why we are getting the medals also straight away. Even Lanka got, I think, PSA gold medal as well from the dance shoot.
No, that was the banana leaf, the little child peeping from the banana leaf. Yeah.
Those are just
Even
very striking.
Naoma, actually, she did a fantastic job. Even daughter, actually, they were very new to this lighting setups and everything, but they did a fantastic job.
Right. There's no questions. Comments. We can call it a day. We are, I think, running a bit too late. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every presenters, Ruchira, Sandeep, Praveen, Rohana, Sam, Romesh, and finally Pandula and Lanka. Thank you so very much for all your hard work put into the lovely presentations. I'm sure we all enjoyed and learned a lot. So this session will be soon up on YouTube for you all to go back and refer if you need any information or any other clarification. Thank you everyone again. Have a good night.